Welcome back to the Expansion Pack podcast. It's your boy Good Master Flex, followed by my two wonderful co-hosts, starting off the person to my left, Denzel, aka the Black Ice 8.
What's going on, boys? How you doing?
That's it. Oh, okay. I'm expecting the Goopin intro.
Nah. We keep it simple.
Keep it nice.
Keep it simple around here. We don't do it.
Keep it nice and simple. Well, and then of course to my right we got the one and only MAY25THXX. Want to introduce this?
I ain't gonna front. This is awkward as hell for me. Super awkward. But you know what? I want you guys to understand. Even though he fumbled a little bit, you know what I'm saying? This is a big step for our boy Manus.
This is a big step.
No. It ain't a big step. I'm being held hostage. Like, y'all can't see it because they put a green screen behind me on purpose, but I'm actually being held hostage at gunpoint right now. They don't want you to know that, but...
Ladies and gentlemen, just for some context here, right?
Fuck?
Just for some context. So, since last year, we've been trying to get Manny to start the show, right? Every single time, and anytime he has to joke about it, anytime he has to joke, like, oh, welcome back to the Xpansion Pack podcast. Anytime he has to joke about it, does it perfectly. The moment I hit the record button, folding. Just
I don't know.
folding
It's
like
just
a lawn chair.
when you got the flashing lights in front of you, the paparazzi going crazy, it's just the pressure. It gets to you.
That's all right. It was Manny's first time trying out the intro.
His first time. It was practice.
Now we broke the ice. We'll see how he does next time around. But obviously, like you said, welcome to the Xpansion Pack podcast, ladies and gentlemen, where we download this week's gaming news and we bring it straight to you. We already got the introductions out the way, so let's just jump right into it. Let's talk about some games. Chris, my guy, Mr. 525, hit us off with that buffer, my boy.
Like I told y'all the last couple of weeks, I've been really, really liking these little three-way discussions because I don't know why they just lead to really good conversation. This week, in the ring, we got Ratchet and Clank versus Sly Cooper versus Jack and Daxter. Who you got? Nah. This is not one of those weeks where I got to struggle with my answer. I think all of these platformy games bring something to the table, and they all are really good in their own right. They all have a little bit of combat to them and all that kind of good stuff. But at the end of the day, we got to be real here, y'all. Ratchet and Clank busting both their ass, man. And I think quite easily. Let me explain. Okay. Sly Cooper, I really dig the guy. But this is kind of one of those situations where he's probably the I don't know, he's the snake in this one because he's the stealth guy. Right? He's the one that's built upon the shadows and, moving all sly and shit through all the darkness and all that mess. But all he got is that little umbrella bullshit thing that he be using. I don't never really see him doing nothing crazy, right? Now we go to Jack and Daxter. They got a couple of things. They live in this dystopia. It's cool. It's all right. They ain't got what Ratchet and Clank got, bruh. Need I remind y'all, in the very first game of Ratchet and Clank, and the many that followed after, there was this one particular weapon. The real ones know. The Rhino. If you obtain the Rhino, you busting some ass. Hell, you might even have to put your ass in the discussion that we had last week about or was it the week before that with the other trifecta? Because if you got the Rhino, you might be able to bust some ass. You know what I'm saying? You might be able to bust my guy up from Resident Evil with the Rhino. I'm not going to hold you. The Rhino was crazy. I think that shit shot like 100 missiles at one time. Ridiculous. So, I just don't think the other games come with the same kind of artillery that Ratchet and Clank have. And over the years, it's the variety in the way that the gameplay has unfolded. Nah. Maybe if we got new versions of these other two, I might be saying something different because they definitely are going to advance them if they ever decide to make sequels. But just going off what we got. Nah, Ratchet out here busting ass, man. I'm sorry.
Man, if they make a new game, they're about to make Sly Cooper looking like The Last of Us or God over.
Tattered rags and shit. You know what I'm
Oh
saying?
my goodness. And so, yeah, like I gotta agree with you, Chris. You know, like Ratchet and Clank, he got that thing. He come packing. You know what I'm
Nah, he
saying?
ain't playing.
Like he come packing. Like Jack and Dexter, not Ratchet and Clank. Jack and Dexter and Sly. I mean, like you said, Sly. I mean, the most you can do is probably like hit you with a sneak attack, but like you get caught, you getting shot. And then
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I said, like I feel like Ratchet and Clank always got the tools for the whatever they need. So I just like Jack and Dexter, like your boy Jack. I mean, he's him, but like he don't got the strap. You know what I'm saying? Like you
strap.
Yeah, he got a couple straps.
He got a couple of straps, but
What you
like
mean?
when Chris brings out the Rhino, then we see
Bro,
who really
yo.
got the straps.
Yo, if you can, Denzel, try to see if you can find a picture of that shit and put it in here. Y'all need to see what that shit look like, bro. That Rhino shit, that shit damn near broke off Ratchet arm, bro. That shit crazy, dog. That shit crazy.
Look, I'm gonna say this. I agree with you that Sly Cooper is the snake of this situation. If you see, I'll reference a couple episodes prior. I think it's a wrap for Sly. he might get a little sneak off, but once they find him, it's over. He ain't got nothing. He ain't got that thing on him. But Jack and Dexter, let's take Dexter out of it. Jack is built different, bro. You talking about guns and stuff? Let's bring it back. Remember the morph gun? No?
I can't say that I do.
It's basically like a warp gun in a sense, right? But that was one of my favorite weapons from my time playing Jack and Dexter. Mm-hmm. And I'll have to admit, like in comparison to all the other ones that you've like put together, this is probably the trio that I know the least about. But I do remember me some Jack and Dexter. And I don't know, Jack was just kind of like a serious dude. He just seemed like kind of intense sometimes, and Dexter was kind of like the comedic relief. I don't know. I just have a feeling that Jack might put some hands on Ratchet. That's all I'm saying. And Clank, Clank is Clank, so Clank does his best to keep Ratchet alive, but Ratchet's kind of a goofball. He's not really all there.
So what about Clank versus Dexter? You know, no, he's
Clank got him.
Yeah, I was about to say Clank.
Clank
Nah,
got him.
come on, man. Don't do that.
Can't fuck with Clank.
Dexter is like my guy from Mulan, the dragon. You know what I'm saying? That is definitely what Dexter reminds me of. But Clank, you think Clank got that thing too, man? Stop playing with him, bro. Come on, man.
Oh, he do.
Clank,
He do.
Come on, man. Come on.
Yeah.
I think Jack might edge it out just because, I don't know. He's just kind of intense. I don't know what it is.
Jack had a cool vehicle. I will say that. His means of transportation were quite cool. I will say.
I remember, what was it? Jack 3? I like vividly remember playing it, and like it was kind of like somewhat open worldy. Mm-hmm. Yeah, good memories of that game.
Like I gotta definitely revisit those games and maybe come back with a different answer after playing those games. But I'm gonna go with Ratchet and Clank for now.
Okay. I would love to get a Jack and Dexter.
Yeah,
that's not gonna happen though,
man.
Unless they give it to a different studio or something. Because Jack was a Naughty Dog game, right? Mm-hmm. And we see what Naughty Dog doing. They're not deviating from
The Last of Us at this point.
Yeah, they're not deviating from what they got going on. Although there was
want us to stop this for that? No.
Yeah, no. There was some rumor that they're supposed to be dropping a new Uncharted, but like I don't know. There's been like stuff all over the place with that. Like Neil Druckmann said something along the lines of like, you know, we reserve the rights to like drop Last of Us if we wanted to and start working on something else. The same way we dropped the Uncharted to start working on The Last of Us. But then he said something about like Last of Us 3 is definitely coming now. But then somebody, I don't know. It's like I just keep hearing a different thing every other day. To me, it seems inevitable that The Last of Us, you gotta push that story forward some more.
Come on.
Yeah.
Well, I know he definitely didn't like confirm that, you know, they're not doing no more Uncharted. But then like also heard a rumor a while ago was like Uncharted is being worked on a different developer, and it's like, you know, if it's being worked on a different developer, I don't think it's gonna ever be the same. But at the same time, it's like if you do work on it, I think it's the possibility of it being like a remaster of like 1, 2, and 3, or just at least like a complete rebuild of 1, maybe. So,
see, my thing is the way Sony seems to be moving with this stuff. You don't go and remake something unless you have like a big plan for it down the road, right? So like for as much shit as we were all talking about Last of Us Part 1 and why it didn't need a remake and yada yada yada, it seems very clear now that they did it because of the show, right? And it's worked because the show is highly successful, right? They probably had like what this last episode is like what people are calling like one of the best episodes of television ever. Debatable, whatever, what have you, but like high regards, right? So, then they're seeing the data where like The Last of Us Part 1 and even Part 2 are getting like a 300% increase in sales because of the show. So it's like that strategy is clearly working, right? Makes a lot of sense. Then, Manny and I, we were talking beforehand about God of War having something that's coming on Amazon. Like, so it would be close enough to when the game released for that to make a little bit of sense. They probably wouldn't even need to remake the game, but they may choose to do that anyways. But it seems like they're very particular about it, is really what I'm getting at, right? Like these remakes have a reason. The Uncharted movie didn't really do well. It's like it was decent. But like it doesn't seem like that's something that they're really trying to focus on very much. So I really couldn't see them remaking the game. Maybe rebooting it entirely is a possibility, but I don't know. Be interesting.
Yeah. But like I said, like I hope Naughty Dog is taking more of a focus with The Last of Us. They really do need to drop that multiplayer. Give us some kind of piece of information instead of these cheesy screenshots. Like screenshots are great, but they don't do nothing but sell a wet dream. Like we want something. Give us some information.
I would love for the season finale of the game to coincide with some sort of information about the multiplayer. That would be really smart.
That'd actually be pretty dope.
Yeah.
Do some like faction shit or whatever. Like I'm telling you, man, they have the formula. I know, like I keep repeating myself, but just make a DMZ/Tarkov style multiplayer and maybe have a battle royale mode tackled on top of it. People will love it.
You know, it's funny that you say that. You mentioned that, but I don't know if you got this just dropped like about 2 or 3 hours ago. We didn't really get a chance to talk about it too much, but the day before. They announced that it's getting pushed back. It's supposed to be coming out in like March, something like that. Now it's coming out in November. But they released a new trailer for it. And it really just reminded me of exactly what you just said. Like, it looks like Tarkov, but zombies. And like in a much bigger world, seemingly. Yeah. The systems, like the way, the mechanics of it, or like the inventory system, the way that looked. I don't know. Everything about it. It was just, I don't know. It's throwing me off.
I feel like, like we're in a time now where like extraction shooters, like I said, with Tarkov and DMZ are definitely starting to pop off a little more than battle royales, because in the end, battle royale is kind of like the same formula with no like the only satisfaction you get is if you win. But like with extraction modes like Tarkov, you do these objectives, you come in with what you got and you leave with what you picked up and all that thing. So like they can definitely capitalize in like an extraction mode and kind of like follow the mainstream of how things are pretty much going to probably take a turn of course of gaming, from now on in the future.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I can see those modes being tacked onto certain games and whatnot. I don't think it's as... I personally think that Battle Royale has more staying power than like those Tarkov style modes, but
definitely.
I don't know. I don't think that it's necessarily like an either or, right? I think if you do it intelligently enough, it could work out. I don't know. I think I would enjoy like a Tarkov Last of Us style thing, but something tells me that's not the way they're going.
Probably not. I feel like they're because their previous multiplayer was like basic stuff like team deathmatch. They had their own little search and destroy mode, but like in the matches you could pick up loot and stuff like that you would take back to your factions and stuff like that. Like if they go with that route, like hopefully it's like an actual competitive like multiplayer game where it's going to keep the player base going and not die out eventually, because that's how I feel like every PlayStation game has been with like multiplayer, like Uncharted previously, like that had that multiplayer, but then in the remakes they totally canned it because like it probably didn't really have a following at first anyway. So just make a good multiplayer game. That's what they need to do. Like if it's a live service, there's definitely a bonus because you can definitely bank off that. But who knows, right? Time will tell.
That's true. Now we got off on a huge tangent there because we didn't even get into the main stories.
Yeah.
We ain't talking nothing PlayStation for the rest of this.
Oh man,
we went from Ratchet and Clank, Sly Cooper, and then
Real
some fucking
talk,
last
man.
one. What the fuck?
Yeah.
I was trying to put it together. Like, how did we get here? But I'm not going to ask that out loud. But I wanted to figure that one out.
We got here from the fact that they're not gonna make Jack and Dexter because it's a Naughty Dog game. That's how we got.
All right. Yep.
But yeah, all that extra stuff was Either way, we're moving on. Talking about the main topics for this week. So the three things we're gonna get into, we got some news about Jedi Fallen Order, news about Tomb Raider, and some news about Halo. So three pretty big franchises actually. Well, Star Wars being the big franchise, Tomb Raider, and of course Halo being another big one as well. But first things first, like I said, getting into Star Wars. So Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, game that is being made by EA, Respawn in particular. It got announced that it's getting delayed, unfortunately. So it was supposed to be coming out in March, and now it has been pushed to April 28th, which I believe is the same day as the Horizon DLC for anyone who necessarily cares. But
Who? No, it's not.
it's kind of funny, y'all, because man, I'm gonna put us off on another tangent, so I'm gonna save it for another day. But somebody had mentioned something about how the Horizon franchise keeps getting the short end of the stick because it keeps getting released around the same time of bigger games than it. For example, last year, Horizon dropped like a week before or after? Is it before? It's before Elden Ring, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, it got fucking gobbled up within all that shit. So, this kind of seems like another situation. Obviously, DLC isn't exactly the same scope. It's not that big of a deal necessarily, but like, if somebody's choosing between like, oh, am I going to dive back into Horizon or am I going to play Jedi Fallen Order? Most people are probably going to pick Star Wars because it's Star Wars. So
Definitely.
we'll see how that goes. But I do have to say, I'm like, even though I'm a little sad about it, we've talked about this before. Delays are kind of a good thing at the end of the day. Even though I want the game sooner, it's always better to have the game polished, ready to go. I think we talked about it with Starfield. We've alluded to it with what happened with Cyberpunk. So just kind of something to throw out there. But what do you guys think about this? Actually, Chris, I feel we talked about this before. Did you actually finish the first game? Manny, I know you.
I didn't finish it. I really do need to go back and finish it though, because it's fucking dope. I'm not too stressed out about this particular pushback either, just because like it's only a month after when they originally said. It's not like they said next year. That would suck. So I mean, like if you're telling us to wait extra month, like I'm not gonna be the one to ever complain about that. It's fine. But yeah, getting pushed all the way back to November is that's a little rough. that's a little rough. But yeah, no, like you said, you would rather get the pushback than unfinished product at the end of the day, and we've been seeing far too many of those happen in this generation. Like I'm actually surprised how often it happens now as opposed to like before. You know what I mean? Like when you really think about it, and I know games are a lot more ambitious now and they take a lot more time and effort to make them, but like still, we got so much better technology, and you would think that we wouldn't have as many of those issues, but it's definitely seems like we have more of that shit now than ever.
I think, it's interesting you say that because yes, I agree with you. There's more technology, and so like certain things should be easier. But I think because of the fact that there's so much technology, they're making games more ambitious than they ever have. So it's way more complex than it's ever been, and you're adding all these different systems in. So there's way more room for things to go wrong, and especially with like quality assurance stuff, there's way more room for things to get missed entirely. Like we have whole games go out the door like that have crazy game breaking glitches, right? Like for example, what Manny experienced with Callisto Protocol. I'm sure they had hella QA testers, right? Because for the most part, that game was a pretty decent experience, you know, like as far as bugs go. Like it really wasn't as that buggy of an experience in comparison to most games that get released nowadays. But it was just that one game breaking bug that just crashed Manny's game. And it was the dumbest, like, man, you did end up fixing it, right? So for those of you who don't know,
Yeah.
there's a point in Callisto Protocol that Manny would get to, and then what happened? The audio would cut out and then the game would crash.
Yeah, pretty much like so. It's basically like a scene where you climb down an elevator, and like as soon as like you jump into like the actual elevator itself, like you see frames dropping, like you like the noise would cut off, and boop, and I'll be like,
game crashes, and that's it. Yeah. And so Manny was ready to give up on the game, and it turns out another friend of ours had found a fix that other people were talking about online, and all you had to do was unplug your mic, like turn your mic off at that point. Because the issue was audio related in particular. It was like an audio processing issue. So if you take your mic out and there's no audio playing, the game gets through that part just fine. And then you put your mic back in and then boom, you're good. But like, that's such a specific scenario, right?
I've never heard of anything like that so far. That's crazy.
And it's been a while. It hasn't been patched. And there's like a handful of people who've gone through it, right? So like, it's like, again, when you get so complex, you're adding like, you know, 3D audio and all that other shit. Like it's just, I don't know. It's just a lot of room for shit to go wrong. So it's definitely interesting.
Wow.
Yeah.
Pull out the mic and you can get through the bug in the game. Wow. Like I've never heard of that before, bro. I would have even thought of that.
Right. I went through like because they have like save files you can just go back to, just like how God of War was. That you know, when I was telling Denzel about it when he was going through some troubles, and it's like I went through that. I tried everything, you know, uninstalled the game, reinstalled it, all that kind of stuff, and of course, like the bug just kept on appearing. So. Yeah, it sucked that like it took like a whole like month and a half to figure it out, and by the time that happened, we got Dead Space remake.
How is that going for you, by the way? Have you?
Man, it's like I'm scared, but I'm not. But the game looks so good, and like it plays so good. Oh my god, I love it. I've missed it. Like now, I'm gonna have to like replay all of it again.
I'm hoping they go back and remake the other two. I think that would be worthwhile because it's been met with some pretty high praise. So it's good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but like you said, the game looks amazing, and all I gotta say is like that's what Callisto Protocol should have been. But obviously, Dead Space is like the remake. It's a remake of the first one, so it already has the script basically.
Yeah, but that's not fair. Like
it isn't fair.
That's not fair. Like, that's not fair. I actually really like Callisto, bro. Like I think the game is actually. I haven't played this remake, so I don't know what got changed. From what I'm hearing, it's not that much.
There's definitely some changes. Like, I mean, I don't know if this is a spoiler, but like Isaac basically got a voice in this game compared to like how in the original you didn't say a word.
Yeah. But well, hold on. In the like OG one.
I don't think he did.
I don't remember in the OG one, but in the other games he does talk. From what I remember.
Yeah, 2 and 3, yeah, but not the OG one.
Yeah,
I think the OG one was just him, being like,
grunting and growling and dying basically. But I'm not even talking about from like those subtle changes. Like I'm talking about from a gameplay standpoint. Like I actually think Callisto is like a very great evolution of that style, and I feel like it's not getting the respect or praise that it deserves because it's a pretty damn good game, and I think the melee system is like a good addition to it. But whatever.
Yeah.
Neither here nor there. I mean, I guess there is some adjacent talk around EA when we talk about the Dead Space thing, but at the end of the day, glad to hear that they're taking their time with this Jedi Fallen Order game because we've seen EA in particular fumble the bag with Star Wars on Battlefront, so.
Yeah. What I was gonna say? Mm-hmm. Wait. Who made the remake of Dead Space? First of all, like
EA Motive.
EA Motive. Now, is there a possibility? Because we've seen like Respawn like can Apex Mobile and the Battlefield Mobile and all that kind of stuff. Do you think they're going to be shifting more to a more single player story games? Because obviously we've seen the work with Jedi Fallen Order. Like, are we seeing like a possibility that maybe Respawn could make the next Dead Space?
No, I don't think so.
You don't think so? Okay.
I don't think so.
It's just a question, you know.
Yeah. No, I don't think so though, because I think EA Motive did a good job, so you don't want to take
True.
away the IP from them. That would be pretty shitty, and I think people would be pissed off and probably not want to continue to work for you. So there's that. Also, Respawn has enough on their plate, right? Like they've got that game. I mean, there's supposedly EA canceled. I'm just gonna call it Titanfall 3 because I think that's ultimately what it would have equated to. But they said like it was supposed to be called Titanfall Legends or something like that, and it was supposed to be like a single player story that lived in the Apex Legends universe. That was what the reporting said. But I'm like, the Apex Legends universe is the Titanfall universe, so it's basically a Titanfall game. But whatever.
Sadly.
Whatever. The reporting goes all over the place, but supposedly, that game got shuttered, so EA may be refocusing. And then to your other point, like around EA focusing more on single player games, I don't think that would be the case. I think that they are starting to hit a healthy stride of diversifying their games and not trying to go for the fad 24/7. Like I think that whoever it is that's running the show now gets it around game development. Like they understand there is a need for single player experiences. There's a need for multiplayer experiences. You don't have to hit people over the head with loot boxes. You don't have to hit people over the head with battle royale. Like you can make a healthy experience in a number of different factors. So like Apex Legends is still extremely popular. So they're not going to move away from multiplayer as far as that goes. But yeah, EA seems like they know what they're doing. They're doing the right things right now. So I'll tip my hat to them until they fuck up again, because they used to be like one of the most hated video game companies in the world. So no, they've been doing well for now. So I'll give them their credit.
Yeah.
But jumping over to the next topic here, there's no great segue for this because it's a pretty different franchise entirely. But we're hearing some news about Tomb Raider. I'm gonna put this in the rumor camp for now, even though there are a lot of different people reporting on it. It just seems weird and interesting to me, but essentially what we're hearing is that the Embracer Group, so if you guys don't remember, we've talked about them before, they recently bought a ton of different IPs from Square Enix. Like pretty much Square Enix offloaded like their whole Western game development situation, offloaded games like Tomb Raider, Deus Ex, so on and so forth. And now it's being rumored that Embracer Group has actually sold the rights to Tomb Raider to Amazon for about $600 million. Now, I couldn't find, I'm sure if I dug a little bit harder, I'd probably be able to find it, but Manny and I were talking about this. I think they bought Tomb Raider and all those other games from Square Enix for roughly that price. Roughly that price tag. So like if they're actually selling one IP for that price, which honestly it kind of makes sense to me because Tomb Raider is, out of all those IPs, probably the most valuable. It's tried and true, right? Like it's gone through a couple different iterations and it's been successful in almost every time. It's had successful movies with Angelina Jolie, with Alicia Vikander. Like there have been different ways to make money off of this property, and so it's just interesting that like they flipped it for so much money, if this rumor is true. Now, the main reason why I think it may be true and it makes the most sense is I've already heard reports that Amazon is working with Crystal Dynamics to publish the next Tomb Raider game. It's been reported that Amazon is actually in the process of making a Tomb Raider TV show as well. So I mean, this could be the next great video game adaptation, right? Like, especially with the timing of it all. We know that we just saw The Last of Us. We just saw that episode pop up. The most recent episode pop up. People really, singing its praises and whatnot. And now Amazon say, hey, we want a piece of the pie. So let's go out and buy this franchise, make sure we make this TV show right and benefit from the renewed interest in that franchise, that people buying more of the games, doing all those different types of things. There was in that same reporting, they kind of talked about the idea that Amazon wants to make Tomb Raider like its next Marvel universe type of thing. I don't understand where you get that from one character. I don't. Yeah, I think,
you don't get that one character.
Yeah, you don't get that one character. But I think I understand the sentiment of, we just want to make this the next big thing, really, I think is what the underlining root of that is, right? Like, that's really what they're trying to get at. But Yeah, I don't know. You're not touching like you're not coming at the MCU with something like that. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. Unless what you're trying to do is buy the IP and put like her in a universe with, because they own James Bond, so you put her in a universe with that. They have some rights to Lord of the Rings. Obviously, I don't see how you cross those over, but you know, like they have other properties. So like if you want to put all those properties together and say they're in the same world, maybe I can see where that's coming from. I don't know. That just popped into my head. Probably isn't what it is, but I mean, shit. Now I'm saying it. That would be really fucking weird, but also interesting, right?
Yeah. I mean, if you could somehow pull that kind of thing off, that would be pretty dope. But at the same time, it's like,
I don't
how
think it's
could
that
you
hard.
really expand?
I don't think it's that hard.
I don't know. Like, it'll be weird, like you said, just like if it were to be a thing to see like James Bond, Laura Croft to be a thing. Because, like, you know, Laura Croft is like a character to go, you know, random tombs, going like the jungles and stuff like that. I don't know. I personally haven't seen James Bond movies like that. So, like, I don't know what James Bond be doing.
What? You gotta go watch a Bond film, bro. That's cinematic like history. That's classic. Anyways, for those of y'all who don't know James Bond, basically a spy, and you know, like I feel like you can conjure up a situation where James Bond is in some place where like Tomb Raider is, and like, you know, James Bond, you know, you got a thing for the ladies. That's one thing he do. So like, you know, him and Laura Croft could have a little something, like a little chemistry going or whatever while they're doing whatever the hell it is. Like, I could, all I'm saying is I can see it. It's not that far fetched to think that they can make that work. But I don't know. Chris, what do you think?
Well, in terms of the Amazon semi-acquisition, or I don't know what you call that.
I'll call it an acquisition. Acquiring the IP. Yeah, I call it an acquisition.
All right, yeah. And as far as that goes, I gotta give them credit. Is it my favorite franchise in the world? No, but it's a huge enough franchise to like get some eyes on what they're doing. And the fact that they might couple it with the TV show, I think, is where they kind of have like the hitter there. Now, the only thing I will say is that I don't know what order they plan to release those like forms of entertainment. I would hope they do the video game first, and then do well with the video game story to the point where like they can actually create a good show off of it. Because I don't want it to feel like it's a disjointed thing where like the show is really good but the video game's bad, or the video game's really good but the show's bad. Like, it's kind of if you're gonna do a video game adaptation, I hate to say that these motherfuckers then kind of put the bar up high, but they kind of did. Oh, yeah. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you kind of have to like, I don't think you can handle these at all in the same way how they do comic book adaptations. I don't know. It doesn't feel the same.
Yeah. Well, here's the other thing too, right? Like, would this be an adaptation, or is it just we're making something based off of like Tomb Raider, the franchise? You know, like. So I'm being very specific about the wording adaptation, right? Like, they, again, referencing The Last of Us, they literally adapted what is in that video game to the television screen, like damn near 1-to-1. You know, they added, they expounded on certain things with like Sarah, Joel's daughter in the beginning. They expanded on things with this current episode. I'm not going to spoil it in case people haven't necessarily watched it, but you know, but like it's still literally the game. Whereas with Tomb Raider, like let's say they just took Lara Croft, like the character Lara Croft, and then put her in some situation. Like literally all you're doing is taking the character and putting her in something that you specifically wrote for a TV show, where like she's not doing the same things that she's doing in the game or anything like that, right? She's doing the same concept of raiding tombs, but like it's not literally an adaptation of, oh, she went to, I don't know, the Catskill Mountains or something, some random place that may have been in the game, and like literally having her do that in a TV show. Like, I guess maybe I'm getting too like granular with the word adaptation, but I just think it's a little different.
I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's almost like when you get those shows that you have to kind of decide on whether or not they're canon or not. Right. Like when it's an adaptation, you never really have to guess on whether or not it's canon. It's an adaptation, you know, but when there's liberties and shit taken, then that's when you kind of have to ask yourself, is this even really part of the real storyline? Right. Oh, no. Really? Is it? You know, so I get it. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Whereas if they're weaving things together where it's like Star Wars, like what they are doing with Star Wars now, like Jedi Fallen Order is literally canon, right? It's happening at the same time as all the other things that happened in the world, like everything that happened during Order 66, like the TV shows that they're showing, like Andor and Kenobi and so on and so forth. That's all taking place at the same time as this game. So it's like this is all one universe. Are they going to go that route? Or is it going to be there's this Tomb Raider game and then there's this Tomb Raider show, and like the things that happen in the game have nothing to do with the show, and the things that happen in the show have nothing to do with the game. I hope they don't go that route, because I think it'd be really cool to like make a universe out of it where, you know, you're seeing her different stories, but the same person through. So like something happens in the show and then they reference it in the game or whatever it is. You know, I think that would be cool, and that's the kind of like transmedia stuff that I think most people want. You know, like it's a lot of the reason why the MCU is as popular as it is, right? Like it's not for everybody. Not every hero and every movie is exactly what everybody wants to see. But for those of you who are watching, it's like, okay, like I can follow a thread from point A to point B because whatever happened in Endgame, you know, affected what's happening in like Spider-Man Far From Home. You know, like there's a through line for everything, and then it makes movies and television shows more interesting to watch for me in particular, and I think a lot of people agree with that. So,
yeah, word. So, like, if you were to do an adaptation, you know, of a video game, would you want to do the trilogy that, you know, Crystal Dynamics made before, or would you want to do, you know, to coincide with your new release?
What Crystal Dynamics made before was actually like highly successful. So
yeah. Like, I would probably personally would like to, you know, see an adaptation of that. But I can see why Amazon wouldn't do that just because it isn't their product. So,
right.
Well, here's the thing, right? If I'm Crystal Dynamic, if I'm Amazon,
yeah,
I wait to see, and maybe they know more than, you know, obviously, like if they're like kind of woven into all of this, they probably already know what they have. But I'm waiting to see what Crystal Dynamics or whoever it is that's making the next game. It is supposed to be Crystal Dynamics, but by some chance it's not.
Yeah.
What they're doing, where they're at with it. If what they're making is of quality, like high quality too, I'm going to adapt exactly what they're doing. Like exactly the way they're doing it too. Hell, if anything, I would take the show, whoever is trying to write the show, I would like have them work with the people making the game to write, you know, some of the game. Because again, and we're going to be doing this for a while. So if y'all don't like The Last of Us, tough shit. The way that they handled it with Neil Druckmann, the person who wrote the story for The Last of Us, the game, is like the lead writer for the TV show, and like he's actually having input and, you know, saying like what's being done and so on and so forth. That that one-to-one like direction around, okay, the same person who created the game and knows everything about this game in and out and made 2 games and is probably on his way working on a 3rd at this point, is the same person who's responsible for making this TV show. Like they have deep understandings of it, right? Like it's almost like, I don't know, it's just, you can't not come up with a good product, I guess, in that regard. It's like, you know, George Lucas, like making Star Wars and having his hand in everything that has to do with Star Wars. It's going to be of quality because this is the same mind who created this thing from the start. So he understands it like nobody understands it. He understands the Force. He understands Jedi. He understands Sith, right? Like nobody else understands it. So that's kind of like the type of one-to-one connection I think you need to have with things like Tomb Raider. It doesn't seem like that's what's happening, but you know, I think that's what it needs to happen. But then again, there's the other side of that coin where with Halo, right? Like Joseph Staten, right? I believe is his name. He was responsible for, you know, being a part of the original Halo games. I don't think it was like his idea necessarily, but he was like one of the writers on there, and they had him like, you know, kind of shepherd along the TV show, and it didn't really come out the way it was supposed to. So I don't know. I mean, I guess, you know, as I was saying it out loud, I'm thinking about, well, there are some examples to the contrary. So maybe it's more than that. Maybe there's more to the secret sauce of what makes The Last of Us The Last of Us. But I just know that I want, like, whoever it is that takes another step in that ring, in this case being Amazon, like I want them to follow that formula as best as they can and just knock that shit out the park, because it's just fantastic.
Yeah.
moving on to the next topic here. Of course, talking about Halo. Halo. Oh man,
Oh, I'm sorry.
Manny and I were talking earlier about how you said like 6 months from now we'll be talking about Halo or whatever it is that you said. And, sure enough, we're talking more about Halo. Maybe not in the best light, but it is what it is. So, of course, it's been reported that a pretty significant portion of the Studio 343 Industries was laid off as a part of Microsoft's recent layoffs. And it's, it wasn't really specifically them. It was a number of other studios, or not studios. It was a number of other parts of Microsoft that got laid off. Mm-hmm. But, it's been really reported heavily that 343, I think they said like roughly 75, maybe 90 employees were laid off. And, it led to a lot of questions around what was going on with Halo, what's the future of Halo, so on and so forth. And then, 343 came out and said, hey, there's been a lot of rumors around what's going on, what's going to take place with Halo. We're here to say that we will be making Halo internally, because there was a lot of rumors that they were just going to be publishing Halo and like have other studios work on it and so on and so forth. Whatever. So, they came right out and said, hey, we'll be making Halo in the future. We'll be continuing work on Infinite, so on and so forth, blah, 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 blah. Mm-hmm. Now, this week, we're getting a report, and this is potentially even just confirmation really for a rumor that we had talked about in the past. It looks like Halo will be moving to Unreal Engine period. Assume it's presumably 5, but in general, they're just saying it's switching to Unreal Engine. They were using a proprietary engine called Slipspace Engine. There's been some rumors in the past that it's been a lot of the reason why we haven't been seeing as much content after launch for Halo. It's also, the reason why the game had to get pushed back, so on and so forth, right? Mm-hmm. So, when you have a proprietary engine, there's a lot less people in the industry who know how to work it. So you can't really get as many contractors and whatnot. You have to basically hire a contractor to learn the engine and then do the work. And that costs more money than it's probably worth, right? So, there's just a lot of different things that are going on around that. So I'll just read off a couple little excerpts really from this article on The Verge here. And then we'll get start talking about it a little bit more, because this is a pretty big deal if all of this stuff is true. So what it's saying here on The Verge, so Halo developer 343 Industries lost at least 95 people due to Microsoft's recent layoffs, and the studio is apparently switching from its proprietary Slipspace engine to Unreal Engine for future games. Now, let's see. Basically, what they go on to say is that in the same report, there's a new game that's coming out, and it's the supposed Battle Royale Halo game, and it's currently codenamed Tatanka. And apparently the game has evolved in several ways. So I guess it formerly was a Battle Royale, and now it may be something more. My question is, in regards to all of this, if they are switching to Unreal, right? And if this is a real thing, if you make this new Tatanka game or whatever, and you make it in Unreal, what becomes of Infinite? Why wouldn't you just convert Infinite into Unreal Engine? Because you just dropped the Forge mode. You apparently have all these different seasons that are supposed to come out. This was supposed to be a 10-year game. Why not just convert this whole thing to Unreal Engine and then let Halo be, what it was? Because, again, Manny and I were talking about this in our little pre-show before Chris came through. And, Halo was successful when it dropped, right? Infinite was successful. It's not like Infinite was just like a game that was dead on arrival. It had like a good 3 months of like, yo, this is amazing. Halo's back, yada, yada, yada. People played the campaign. They loved it. Got reviewed well. Whatever, what have you. The problem was 3, 6, 9 months later, where's the content? Where's the new stuff? There wasn't enough of it. And so people were really disappointed. There wasn't enough new maps. There wasn't enough, even new playlists. The playlist came late. Like, I think off the rip, it was like, you only had 4 options of playlists. Like, ranked came late, all that stuff, So I don't know. It's just like Halo just needs the content to get back into it. Like the Forge mode dropped not that long ago, and we were playing all these silly little custom game modes and stuff like that. And it's like, bro, Halo's still fun. It's still fun. It's just that they need to have the content. So I don't know, Manny. I know you were talking about it earlier, so I'm gonna start with you on this one, man. What do you think about all this stuff with Halo?
Yeah, like you mentioned. I remember you saying something like the developers themselves were playing with Unreal Engine, trying to convince people to switch, and it's like if this slipstream engine is really this complicated, where it's not easy to like port these modes, like basic modes like team deathmatch, capture the flag, like those are the modes they already had in the game, but like the fact that it took a while for them to even be able to put these modes in, and the fact that like there's delays upon delays with Forge and all that kind of stuff, and it makes you think like, is the slipstream engine really worth it? Like, I understand, like, you want to, like, as Microsoft, pull out your own thing, your own engine with your own game, because this is your own brand. But at the same time, it's like, we've seen how reliable Unreal is. And, of course, the fact that they are switching to it is, like, a good sign, in my opinion. Hopefully this can push out more modes, make the game more fun again. And like you said, with the Forge mode, I mean, people's been having a blast with it. So, like, it's not like the game is dead, but, like, you just ask your question. It's like, is the damage already done to the point where this game is pretty much like the only people that are coming back to it, like, are the diehard fans, or, like, can this game really have a revival and, take the storm in the first-person shooter genre?
Yeah.
The thing that I'm thinking about as well, I'm sorry to cut you off, but like what you can do is like, you keep your Halo Infinite, and sucks that I'm comparing it to Call of Duty, but like have this be like your, Halo Infinite be like your core for your multiplayer games and stuff like that, just like how Modern Warfare was. And then like this Tatanka, codename whatever project, be like that Warzone, that mode that like basically relaunches your brand and like make it popular again, just like like I said, if it is a battle royale, it's like I hate battle royale, but I don't, because battle royale obviously makes a game, or can easily make or break a game. I mean, we've seen like a lot of games try it in the past and fail miserably, but it's like you got to get desperate, if this is what you got to do, it's what you got to do.
I think when you really look at it too, it's like, Halo used to be obviously a juggernaut, right? Like it had a high level of mass appeal, right? Like tons of different people would come and play Halo. Halo doesn't have a battle royale mode, and that's really the mode that people seem to really gravitate towards right now. Like Warzone 2 dropped, people are really into it. I don't know. It just seems like a logical attempt to go after. So I guess the question is really whether or not the Unreal thing is real. If it really is what we're getting, and I don't know, it just makes so much sense because, Chris, like you mentioned, right? Like games are more complicated than they've ever been. There's more technology out there, so on and so forth. If you're having trouble with an engine, that you're trying to build from scratch, and there's this perfectly great one out there that's powering like 60% of our games, and people are people have knowledge of it. Like, you can get help from Epic. Like Epic has its own team like dedicated to making this stuff and helping other people make their games with it. Why not just do the switch? And it's got to cost way more money now than ever before to go out of your way to build your own engine. Like this article that we're reading here, it references the fact that CD Projekt Red is also committing to using Epic Games' Unreal Engine for like, I think they didn't give an exact number, but like they said multiple years. So like the next Witcher is going to be an Unreal, the next Cyberpunk supposedly is going to be an Unreal, and whatever else they come out with next. Whereas like CD Projekt Red used to have their own engine. They did have their own engine, and then I'm sure that issues with that engine probably had a little bit of something to do with Cyberpunk not really being what it was supposed to be. So it just seems like an inevitability. But at the same time, to propose another thought, you're buying Activision Blizzard, right? You bought Bethesda. Bethesda, owns id Tech, and id Tech is a great first-person shooter engine based off of Doom and Wolfenstein and so on and so forth. Why not leverage that instead? Now I know obviously Epic. I keep wanting to say Epic Engine, but Unreal Engine is really way more broad, more ubiquitous in a sense, and probably can do a lot more as far as ray tracing and all those different things. Like we've seen at this point, we've seen what Unreal can do. We've talked about it at length on this podcast, right? From the Matrix, from Fortnite, from so on and so forth. There's so many different things that Epic's been able to achieve with Unreal Engine that kind of the proof is in the pudding already, right? So if you can get creative enough and you can, if you can focus less on trying to fight an engine, and that you can just start dumping assets in and doing all this cool, crazy shit that this engine is already capable of doing, you can create better stuff, right? If you could create a great game with an engine that you're struggling with, imagine what you can do with an engine that you're a lot more familiar with and, is way more flexible to bend to your will of what exactly you want to do. Like Halo can get back to what it used to be with that. But Chris, what do you think about that?
I don't know. It's kind of shocking in a sense, I guess, because, when I think about like a reboot, it's like, whoa, I wouldn't think of 343 as one of the first, names that pop up in my head when I think about, companies going through a whole overhaul type of thing. So it's interesting. I think it is probably for the best, in a sense. It's definitely going to shake things up and give it a freshening. I think they kind of look at it now like, all right, we want to get some fresh minds in here. We want to get some fresh people who have new ideas. And yeah, I mean, I can't tell you if they're going to do a remake of the older ones or if they're going to be started from the ground up or whatever, but this isn't always a bad thing. I think your idea, Manny, where they split it up into kind of like more of a Warzone-esque type of thing, I think that would actually be pretty cool. But yeah, I don't know how they lost their mojo there, because they did have it, like you said, man. I think a lot of the parts for me that kind of fucked it up was just like their battle pass system in general was just not good to me at all. Like I did not enjoy how they had that set up and how I had to play to earn certain things, and then how I earned something and then it don't even go on everybody. It's just, I don't know. I wasn't feeling that too much. But yeah, overall, not a bad thing. I don't think this is bad at all. I think one of those situations where we kind of just wait and see what they come up with. Because we don't know which direction they're going to go in, man. This is kind of, can be exciting if you want it to be. Or you could look at it and be like, oh, damn, they're admitting defeat with Infinite and they're going back to the drawing board and we're going to see what they do with that too. So
there's a lot of...
It's interesting.
Yeah,
it's interesting.
There's a lot of talking points around it. It's like... there's a quote that Phil Spencer had way back when that said, like Xbox is Halo and Halo is Xbox. Like if Xbox is dead, Halo's dead. So, like something along those lines. That wasn't exactly what he said. But so people are like, oh, like, this is like a sign that like Xbox sucks and like Xbox has no games and the typical people that you're expecting to pile on with some of that console war bullshit. But I don't know. It's definitely not a good look for Xbox, though. It's definitely not a good look.
Nah, this is one of their flagship games, man. The flagship game, if you really want to go there. Between that and Gears, it's like,
yeah.
What else could you even like? Come on, man. That's bad for sure. But
they're trying to market away from that though, because if you look like the back of the Xbox One box, it used to be like Halo, used to be Master Chief on the face of it. Now it's Starfield. Yeah. So like they're trying to do some rebranding and whatnot, and obviously it's kind of inevitable, right? Because now when you add on so many different studios, the face of Xbox has to change a little bit. Yeah. So like you're gonna get some Fallout branding, Starfield branding. If Call of Duty pops off, getting Call of Duty branding, whatever else you have to bring to the table. But yeah, I don't know. It's definitely gonna be interesting to see how it goes, because if all this stuff is true and like that Tatanka game, that game is supposedly being made by a company called Certain Affinity, so they're like kind of like outsourcing it in a sense. If it's true that that's on Unreal and that comes out, I would say if it's real, I think we might get a hint of it at the E3. Or, well, the E3 showcases. Apparently, Microsoft's not really at the E3, which they haven't.
Right,
They never have been. But you know what I mean. Like
It'll
their
probably
summer
developer
showcase.
direct. Just like instead of doing a whole full blown showcase, I feel like.
No, they already said they're doing a showcase. They're doing a showcase at in the summer around E3. So
I'm still waiting on Sony's.
Well, I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen.
I just want Spider-Man 2 trailer. All right, let's just give me a freaking
I
a
wanna see the
little
Wolverine shit
PlayStation
more.
Direct or whatever it's called, like that they did with Horizon a while ago, when they show a 15-minute, just give me a little 10-minute gameplay. Come on.
I mean, I can see that happening in the spring. I could definitely see that happening with Spider-Man in the spring, like a little 20-minute thing, whatever. But
yeah,
we'll see how it all goes down.
We'll see.
Yeah.
But I do think summer might be a point to look at for Halo again, if this Tatanka thing is real. Otherwise, if it's not real, we not hearing from Halo you'll probably hear season 5 or whatever of Infinite, but you're probably not gonna hear from 343 for a while. They might need to sit aside unless they have Tatanka, unless they convert everything to Unreal 5. Unreal just 343 just needs to go quiet for 5 years. Just don't say nothing. Just come with that heat, because you can't. Oh, man, it's such a fall from grace, man.
Yeah.
From Halo being what it was to then having actually a pretty glorious comeback with Infinite, and then to just rapidly fall off. It's just damn, bro. Yeah, it stings. It's got to sting for them.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
For sure.
But
another opportunity to do something different and try again. I have a feeling this time around they're not going to fuck up. Something tells me that. Let me not go too crazy, because sometimes you give them this kind of benefit of the doubt and they still do fuck up. But I cannot see Microsoft allowing their flagship game to keep floundering like this. I just don't see it. I think they're gonna try their hardest with this next one. Or maybe I'm just trying to put that in the air. You just can't do this. This is your baby. You can't allow this to just die, bro. No.
I think this is Halo's first real misstep, and a lot of people will argue 4 and 5 weren't as good, whatever. But they moved copies. They sold like crazy. I remember Halo 5 broke some ridiculous record, and I remember thinking game's good, but it's not that good.
Yes, it wasn't
Guardians wasn't good necessarily, but it broke records, and it actually had a high concurrent user base and the multiplayer and all that stuff. The biggest issue people had with Guardians was that you weren't playing as Chief the whole time, and they didn't like that switch off. But when it came to multiplayer, people enjoyed the multiplayer, and all the other stuff that came around it was it was what it was. So Infinite had a lot to live up to, and it dropped the ball, obviously. So I don't know. This is really, in my eyes, Halo's first big misstep as a gaming franchise. Obviously we got the TV stuff too, but the fact that it's happening at the same time too, that's gotta hit you a little bit. Yeah, it's gotta hit you a little bit. Phil's gotta be sitting there damn, we gotta do something. We gotta do something drastic.
We spent a lot of money, y'all. Do y'all realize?
Yeah.
Y'all know how much money we done spent?
Well, I think that's why the 95 people get laid off, right?
Yeah.
Because you think about it, how much money did you put into making that engine, right? So engine's not working out. You hired all these people to make said engine, wasted billions probably to, get all that done. And now you got to be all right, cut our losses. Let's move to Unreal. Mm-hmm. Now all these people you hired for this engine, you got to get rid of them. You got to make that money up somewhere.
Yeah. It's tough. It's tough. That's why it's you guys got to knock it out the park with this next one and resuscitate. But I think they can. I think they can too.
It's definitely something to keep our eye on for sure, as always with Microsoft and Halo in particular, especially lately. But yeah, I think it's probably a good place to end it. Definitely good conversation around this stuff. So hopefully we'll see where the rest of this year takes us. It's only February, boys. We didn't get our big like crazy January thing like we did with the Activision Blizzard from last year, but it's been a steady stream of news. Yeah, obviously those are like only a once in a blue moon type of apples.
Yeah.
People ain't got that kind of money. You ain't got $70 billion just sitting around to buy companies like that. So, shit. And probably next week we'll probably talk a little bit more about that. Where things are with that. That's not something we really keep up with, but there's been a lot. There's been a lot going on.
I've been seeing it.
Been a lot going on. So we might come with y'all next week with that. But for now, we'll get out of here. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to check us out on our social media platforms. If you're watching on YouTube, follow us all on our individual platforms down underneath our little cards here. Make sure to check us out on Twitter at XPackPod, Instagram at XPackPod, and then of course TikTok, Xpansion Pack Podcast. But yeah, guys, we'll see you guys next week. Manny, I don't know what kind of dances, TikTok dances you doing here.
I'm not doing TikTok dances. Let me live.
That's what it looked like. I don't know. All that stuff. But hey, all right, guys.
No.
That's all right. We'll get out of here. Next week, Manny gonna start the show too. He gonna kill it, guys. You gonna get in practice a little bit more.
I get stage fright.
All right, guys. Peace.
Hiya.